Now, I'm glad Josh is here this week, because there's very few people more qualified to talk about Avatar The Last Airbender and its future than Josh, because we both have grown up with it. And I think you were like the first person to text me this. I had already seen it a few
Probably.
hours earlier, but apparently Paramount Plus is just making big old moves, and we'll talk about a few of them here. But one of them is establishing an Avatar Studios. Basically, they will be tasked with developing future Avatar projects going forward, whether that's new series, a full-fledged movie. Don't worry, I think it's a full-fledged animated movie, and Shyamalan can't touch this one. I'm not gonna lie. If this was maybe 10 years ago, I would be excited.
Mm-hmm.
But Avatar still holds a special place in a lot of people's hearts of a certain generation. That being said, this isn't the first property we'll talk about from Paramount Plus that I think is past its expiration date of when you should have capitalized on this. That,
Mm-hmm.
but also on the flip side, I keep flip-flopping. I get the decision here. Paramount Plus, formerly known as CBS All Access before they rebranded, they need their marquee attractions that'll drive people to the show, like Mandalorian or Stranger Things. They need their like big shows, and they have one that we'll talk about later, but they want to reach that nostalgia that is the Avatar fan base. Now, if there wasn't Korra, I think there'd be much bigger need and desire for this, but I think you brought this up. This explains why the Netflix thing probably fell through, and I can all but guarantee you the Netflix thing is now canceled because
Mm-hmm.
with each studio going, okay, we need content, they're like quickly calling dibs on the stuff that belongs to them. So now that Paramount Plus wants to be a major player in the streaming wars, they're going, okay, Avatar's a big IP, we gonna take that back now. Screw you, Netflix, have a
Yeah.
nice day. Good luck with Stranger Things Season 5. So
Yeah.
I want to be excited for this. I don't know what to expect from Paramount Plus as a studio. But also, ever since the original Avatar: The Last Airbender series ended, it has only gone downhill, and it hasn't improved in terms of overall lore, at least in my book.
And see, I will fight you on that a little bit. Now, okay, caveat. I know Korra is not top tier. It's not like, well, universally liked. It's very polarizing. However, I will argue that it did do things for the lore. It expanded the sub bending stuff a whole lot. We learned a lot more about the one nation that we didn't get to learn about a lot in the original series, the Air Nation. Like, you're telling me this whole time there was like stuff about a nomad monk who could fly, and Aang never thought to like look that up? No? Okay, cool. Whatever. But just like there's the to me, while I was not a fan necessarily of Korra, and has nothing to do with her orientation or anything like that. I just like her personality, the way that she came at problems, the way that, every single season she seemed to just revert to the state, to her beginning state at every single time was kind of annoying. But anyway, I think it expanded the lore in a especially the spirit world lore, in a very, very important way.
Okay, that's
Some of the
fair.
posts, yeah, some of the posts that I've seen, at least, that have piqued my interest are, if anything, we get two more series just to complete the cycle. Because we've got air, water, now we need an earth avatar, and then a fire avatar. And they could just keep doing the cycle, which is fine. I don't want them to. I wouldn't mind if we did get two more series just to see what it looks like for different people to be the avatar. But emphasis on each each avatar has to be unique, has to be someone we can get behind. At the end of the day, it has to be somebody we can get behind. Unless you're going to somehow turn them into the villain, which would be
That'd
very
be
interesting.
fun.
Anyway,
That'd be a
yeah,
fun
but like
twist.
I think to the studio's credit, I do think there's a lot of really interesting stories you could tell in this universe. Now, can you tell them well is the question, because Korra has proved that
Yeah.
it's not easy.
Yeah. Um, the other hesitation that I have with this is, at least on paper, this seems like one of those, we've got a thing that's popular. Let's explode it into every facet that we can possibly milk. I'm just like, do you have an idea to go with it? Or do you just see, okay, there's a big nostalgia craze for Avatar due to it being on Netflix. So let's just exploit the heck out of that and make multiple series out of that? Or do you genuinely have a good idea for this? And I don't know. This seems very corporate. But then again, right now with everything going to streaming, a lot of things feel corporate. Like, it's not one of our main topics today, but Disney Plus, Paramount Plus, and a couple others talked about they really like the idea of shrinking the release window. Like Paramount Plus is releasing movies on Paramount Plus 45 days after they debut in theaters. So, like, real quick, you can see Mission Impossible 7 on Paramount Plus. Not sure what other stuff is going to be on there. But at least Paramount Plus, I feel like this is one of those, we need to blitz everything. We're late to the game here. We need to put all the eggs in a basket and immediately rush forward. But also, they've had the advantage of, since they're late to the game, they could see what has worked, Disney Plus, and see what hasn't, HBO Max, and then learn from that. HBO Max will be a good app someday, but so far, the lack of 4K content, overall unreliability on the app, its performance is not great.
No.
It crashes a lot, and it's super, super slow.
And I mean, even content though, like sometimes it's hard to find if you're looking for something specific. Sometimes it's hard to find, and sometimes if it's something that makes sense for it to be on HBO Max and it's not, it's really really weird, and there's no reason why it's not.
Yeah, I feel like it's like they released a game that wasn't completely done, and there's gonna be a big DLC drop like a few months later. That's how I feel with HBO Max. Of just like, there's gonna be a big huge patch in the next couple months. It just goes, sorry, because like if you see all the like pre-press stuff and what the app is now, it's so different. But getting back to Last Airbender, this just feels like one of those Last Airbender was super super popular. Let's exploit the crap out of that, whether it makes sense or not. Now, there's a lot of lore that they could tap into, and a lot of characters that could be interesting, getting more fleshed out than they already were. I'm still just hesitant, not just because this is one of like my childhood favorites, but just because there is that uncertainty. If Legend of Korra hadn't happened, I think I would be more excited, but even then, it seems like it's jumping on that craze of, well, here's a popular show from 10 or 20 years ago, let's reboot it because Cobra Kai is doing so well on Netflix. Let's do our version of Cobra Kai. But
it's and the one positive too I can see, not the one positive, but I think if this, I'm putting like a little footnote here of like, if the series that they come out are good, I wouldn't mind these guys being responsible for a live action reboot of Last Airbender. Or Korra. Be able to fix some of the things you did in Korra. That's totally fine too. But I do feel at the end of the day I'm going to end up trusting this doing a live action reboot over, say, Netflix.
yeah, because I remember you texted me after this. We're talking about how this is probably going to be dropped from the Netflix thing. You had this whole list ready to go of projects that Netflix has announced but either made no progress on or just has been straight up canceled. Like what, Josh? Just off the top of your head.
Magic Treehouse. Redwall's probably going to be announced that it's canceled soon.
Narnia.
And like, okay, to be fair, Narnia and Redwall, that's again, well, even those three, they announced them. They're like, hey, this is going to be a thing. but that was months ago. We're talking like early last
Years.
year.
Some of these are
Like,
years ago.
yeah, like, bro, and you have no information, like no directors, no writers, nothing. Like, okay, to me that just confirms that we're gonna quietly drop this.